We got a quorum now. Let's go ahead and call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. If you would review the minutes from our past meeting here, it should be on the back of the.
I don't have one there.
It was inside my.
It's in your copy.
In your packet, yeah. Here you go, look at mine. Get done, everybody gets done, if there's any additions, corrections, and minutes, and not, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as written. Second.
Motion by Gully, second by Taylor. All in favor say aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carried. Alrighty, we move on to number 3 on our agenda. We get an update from our Public Works Director, Mr. Salih.
Y'all wanna start with the ball field stuff so we can get these guys off the payroll, or you wanna stay and listen?
Let's just let it hang out.
See what's going on, I'm curious.
Curious all the way through, I could have waited through the whole thing.
So, if you would, who we got here where you can write it down for our minutes, we got
Brad Anderson.
That's Stephen Bird,
for the little one.
Y'all are both on the loop board.
yes, President, Vice President.
Okay.
Brad Anderson and Stephen Bird.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the lights. The Tri-County came and had Groves do all the boring. They bored 4-foot holes, 12 foot deep. We had a lot of problems with the creek running back into the holes, so we had to keep those pumped out for them. They got gravel in and concrete poured eventually. In field 1, there's 2 poles that are actually in the field. They're about 10 feet apart. When they bored down the first one, they hit electric wires, which they expected, and scoreboard wire. When they got to the second hole, which is 10 feet from it, they hit the same wires, but the bit actually grabbed them and pulled that 10 feet section out and some from beyond that second hole. And we really don't know the damage, the extent of the damage to the scoreboard wire. So that's one of the concerns. I called Zach about earlier this week, and we talked about it. And I guess he brought y'all up to speed on what's going on. That's what we know so far. Tri-County is, they hit enough wire that they're gonna go ahead and rewire the entire ballpark. Every field is gonna be rewired. They're furnishing the conduit and the wire. We have to furnish the labor as far as trenching, getting the conduit in the ground, getting the vault set up and ready for them to do everything they can do. The conduit came in last, I wanna say New Year's is when Wayne called me and said it came in. But it's due to weather, you know, it's been cold and raining, we hadn't had time to get over and do trenching. I'd like to have a solid week because we want to run some new water lines. And I want to know from you guys, what y'all decided to. Zach said that those scoreboards may be wireless but need power.
They do have to have power and they are wireless. So as long as we can come off another electrical source, they don't have to run all the way back up to the to the press boxes.
Well, while we're doing the trenching, y'all are familiar with the big pavilion on the creek bank. We've got power there, more than enough now that we've lost all of the ball field lights and stuff from that area. So we should be able to trench and run y'all lines wherever they need power to. We were over there today, they left all the lumber and stuff like that where they put the scoreboards up. My guys went ahead and cleaned that mess up.
Well, he was gonna come back tomorrow and get the old scoreboards in, all that.
The scoreboards are still there, but the lumber and stuff, we just went ahead and picked it up. Now, if he wanted it, you know, we've got it up there.
He was just coming back to clean up his stuff. He had some basketball scoreboards that needed some attention immediately, so we had to pull off and go do that. So.
Okay. Well, we'll use it for trim in a building somewhere. I mean, it's just good one before lumber, rough cut on one side, but it's been sanded on the other, so we'll use it. Okay. I guess that's all I have as far as those lights. You know, we're moving forward, looking for a clean week that we can rent a trencher and have it up here. Wayne said we didn't have to have gravel in the under the conduit or above the conduit, just trench the holes and put a conduit in. I've got the map of the way they want it ran, so just as soon as we can get a few pretty days put together, we'll have it done.
But with that being said, since you've got to retrench everything, what's the chances of putting a switch at each field to control those lights? And the reason I say that is because right now you flip a switch on and it lights up 3 fields. Well, you may not be playing on all 3 fields. You might only be playing on field 3. So you've got field 2 and 1 that's lit up, burning wasted electricity.
Yeah.
And that's coming out of taxpayers' pockets. You know, and
I voiced it to them, but every time I spoke with Tri-County from the top all the way to Wayne, they just keep telling me that there's no chance of it. There's absolutely no way to run different switches to those lights, and I have no idea why. If I'm not mistaken, some of the lights that we have over there now may be remote access with a cell phone or an app, but it has to have all the software put up at the top of the pole to be able to do that. So we may be able to cut the power on it at the switch and then work them
And then shut
at a
it
distance. But that's way down the road, because they don't have any of the software to do any of that. None of that is in that package that we
For
do.
that to work, you'll have to have wireless access point at each one.
Well, I mean, we got that in the field, in the park.
You have to have an interface at the pole, at the light, for it to communicate with you.
Seems like that'd be more expensive than just putting a switch on.
But the thing is what's the current draw on those things? When you start breaking hots on something over 220, it gets expensive. It's real expensive. Start breaking.
It sounds great, you know.
It does.
nice.
And we've asked them a dozen, I've asked and asked and asked. I've asked everybody. I can call them right now and ask them if they have the same thing.
I talked to Alan Carter about it, some of those pieces, and it didn't seem feasible along that part. And honestly, at where we are, the cost that we're talking about with LEDs is not going to be a huge amount to light that part.
Compared to what it was with incandescents, absolutely.
And I talked to Zach
Now,
about.
will field 4, the T-ball field that we currently call it, will it light with the, okay, because it currently doesn't now, but it will.
Yeah, it's totally separate.
I did talk to Zach about moving that switch into the, little closet behind the press box. I guess a little janitor's closet or storage room or whatever. That way we can at least get it secured where it's not being turned on during the night and left on, all hours of the night.
Something like that would work, but and with the cost savings of the LED lights, I see what you're saying versus spending thousands of dollars to put switches on everyone. What we're gonna get is, well, why are y'all still burning these lights and there's nobody out there? We got it all year last year. Of course, somebody flipping the switch off a couple of times during games.
If we can get it in that storage room, that'll,
I have a question there. Y'all still use those storage rooms for baseball storage?
Equipment, yes.
Equipment storage? So when you go there and you put it inside that room, you're gonna have keys for a lot of other people. Football that uses it. It's about that.
Not the storage.
If they're gonna have a light switch in that storage room,
There'd be one person, it'd be Scott Rivers. They would
I
have.
hear what you're saying. But to me, I don't know if I like that plan. Personally, I think that is not the best plan going forward with that piece, because you're gonna have your equipment that's important to you there in that case, and a chance at multiple people being in that, having to go in that room to turn on a light. That's a,
we can leave it on the pole, let y'all show us. It'd save me a lot of trouble to leave it where it's at.
I would say if you're gonna put it in one of those rooms down there where there's less limited access people want into, is that on the concession stand, that first room, typically there's a big freezer in there. Less people go in there, it's the same key as the concession stand which Scott has, and there's just less activity going on in there, so ridiculous. But obviously that's wherever you try county.
if you put a box on it,
Plug the box all over that.
Right there now.
They got a guy hired just to tear them.
Professional.
Does good work.
I think if we're gonna move it, it should be wherever the less accessible one, and if the concession is the one that, I think it was that.
Well, there's asphalt between there.
It's,
That's the reason we
it costs a
were
lot to run a switch, run a panel, we don't like that.
Okay.
Just
Actually,
like-
those, yeah, and
The
those,
three-phase relay that turns lights off.
the wiring for those boxes also runs from the same asphalt that you're talking about, running that back of that. So, I mean, you got other chances at tearing up something else when you go to that option, it would cost a little bit or somebody else.
So far, I've been told I can't move it. But when you pull it apart and look at it, it's just a light switch with wires up to it. So I don't know why we can't extend that.
Right now, it runs an old oil switch.
Yeah, but it's still just two wires on a regular little simple light switch. All we need to do is extend the wire where we want. Switch it. I would think. I know a guy I'm talking to.
See what he says.
It's rated for.
Whatever we want.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's just running, it's just the power to an oil switch and stuff up top. That's all it does.
So, Cliff needs to get hold of a contact for somebody in Little League. One of y'all two or Zach or whoever, y'all need to get.
I got his number.
Okay.
I don't think I have his.
Any of the three of us
Who's the third?
Zach, Swap.
I mean, swap.
Swaffer.
I guess my question would be, we're looking at our schedule. Do we have any concern that it's not gonna be done, say, March sixth? If that's,
Not on my part. Dry County can't get the wire pulled, or for some reason they can't get it done. I don't know that you can expect all those little light poles to be up and out of there.
that was gonna be another question.
That's in their hands. What's laying on the ground will be gone. But, what's up in the air, I don't know.
Okay, and I'm not concerned about the air. Like I said, the ground where
Yeah.
kids are gonna be around, obviously won't touch it off. And I guess before we do anything like on field one, where there's been debris, the pole been taken up and debris and stuff on there, is Tri-County gonna take care of that? Is Parks Department, or is that Parks and Little League?
Debris.
Behind, I don't know, behind first base on field one over there. It looks like when they pulled up the pole, they pulled up some concrete, dirt.
Yeah, we'll clean that up.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna haul the dirt out there anyway.
Because the other thing is, usually the middle school baseball team uses field one as well. And they'll probably, they have a pretty day in February, obviously it's a day. They're not concerned about the lights or anything like that. But just from that standpoint, I didn't want to overstep us going out there and doing anything.
Yeah, don't let me hold you back. I'm 8 people short right now. It's me, my maintenance guy, and 3 truck drivers, and another guy that works in the park, and that's it.
Because, right now, and there's no kids down there right now, but then obviously the holes around the poles are another concern. But so that's gonna be done by March sixth.
The reason we didn't fill those in is because initially they were gonna reuse that wire that ran to that pole and tie it back in and go. But that's not the case now, so we started filling some of them up, we will get them finished. Like I said, if there's something y'all feel like you wanna do, you're welcome to do it.
Y'all still have a work day down there before the season starts?
Yeah, it'll be, of course, it'll be after that March sixth. But March sixth is preliminary practice, when teams get to start practicing out there. That's kind of what we're looking at.
So you think you got enough manpower to do what you need to do as soon as it dries up stuff or whatever?
No, I don't, but we'll get it. We've been getting it.
Can do.
Is there anything else? Y'all got any questions or anything else? Little League, about the lights? I said, I was down there circling the other day, Wilson Bank Trust was down there, looked like putting up the new scoreboard or something, or doing something.
Yeah, they put up the new school boards, they got them done, Wednesday.
They donated the boards and stuff. We had to pay for shipping and installation.
Well, when I circled, I seen some guys out there, I said, it was like, I seen it, Wilson Bank, so they were straight there.
Those lights do they have them positioned already where they're gonna be?
Most of them are, the lights on field one closest to the track, over by the bridge were the wrong lights. They had them here, New Year's, and whether they've changed them out yet or not, I really don't know, but they will be changed and everything put in place like it's supposed to be before y'all are ready to play.
That was only 5 pictures, if I'm not mistaken, is that correct? And they came with a drawing that says this is specifically to point here, and it's labeled, this light goes to here, this light goes to here. So they are positioned on that map that was done for that.
Each light has a degree, on every angle, it has a degree map on it, so it's easy to settle for those guys.
I know I talked to the engineer guy, he's really excited about one of these new lights.
I thought so there too. This is the first park that's got all these same lights in the whole park.
He's looking.
It's got it out a little bit, get some issues done, get you out some pipe in it. I know he said, I talked to him, he said, oh, pipe is here, sitting out, if you want, sitting out back here, truck in right now, they're just waiting on.
Pretty well.
Yeah, time to get opportunity. That's, I was gonna say, it doesn't mean it's gonna have the opportunity's not necessarily
Ready
looking
to
great.
start on the pool?
Yes.
Okay. We've had several come and look at it, most of them just tell me it's gonna have a new, liner put in it. I'm still waiting on the guy that said he could do the rhino type liner in it. I hadn't heard back from him since first of December. Madison Pools, I talked to them, they said, all they would be able to do was tear it out, and put a new Armalite liner in it or something like that. And we looked at the quote from 2011, I think it was, so we're probably just about double it. What it would be today, I can't remember how much it was, it was 57 or something like that, $1,000.
I don't know, I hadn't looked at that anymore.
So we had a small water leak, you go up there now and, you can see the shallow end of the pool is just a little bit off level. I don't know if something's starting to rise or something, more than likely some of it's starting to sink. And that may be where the water's going, I don't know. We're not losing water right now, so that leads me to believe it's in the pumping system. Maybe the sand filters are leaking a little bit, not as much as what we were losing, but it could be a leak in the pipe somewhere too. So I don't know. We didn't lose a lot of water last year like I thought we did. Reading the meter every day kind of got me nervous. The water bills at the end of the month were on par for what we were the years previous, so it's not. We weren't losing as much as I initially thought we were. I talked to Bubba a couple of times about the pool food. I went up and spent a lot of time with the guys in LaFayette. I spent a couple of hours up there with them. They've moved away from hot food completely. They're serving snacks, sealed bags of stuff, beef jerky, chips, cold drink, candy bars. No burgers, no permitted food at all. Now, do away with our food service permit. I think it's $350 a year. There's a couple of things that, we can do there to help, cost and get some of that labor out of the pool house. If y'all have ever been up there, there's 3 to 5 kids in there all the time stirring cheese and stuff, burgers. We're not making any money on that stuff, so if we could move over to, prepackaged food, it would be a good idea. Pool, park, still related, we could move on to this camera, quote.
What about this on the pool, or, we need to wait till set an opening date and any of that stuff yet, or wait the next month or something?
We can do it in a month. I mean, Tracy's getting everything ready. We're fixing to take it out to the high school and get it on Facebook and start getting everything in play. If we don't start now, then
We usually start the weekend right after school's out there, or
Yeah.
around
You just start that,
more day, yeah.
What was our rate we were paying the, what did we call the term for whoever's running that pool? I don't know what term we use.
Pool
manager.
Manager, we'll call it.
1050, assistant manager 950, and the guards were 8.
But y'all, maybe after y'all also feel like what the hours are. Because I'd like to see us maybe go from a 10 to 5, like a 12 to 7 or something like that, to where people could come later in the day if they chose to.
Yeah, we had that one day where we stayed open later. It's hard for me to get people to stay up there till 5. We've been through this over the last few years. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And I'm anticipating this year to be even worse than last. And it's just going to be a headache once again to try to get somebody to go up there and work. We started out with 20-something kids and wound up with, I think, 11. wound up working all through the summer and getting the bonus. We sent 13 to the first test, and maybe 3 made it out. But their certification is just so discouraging to keep coming up with these numbers.
That's the reason we try to start talking about it in January. I mean, 'cause it's, I mean, it's-
I mean, I just say it, if I was a teenager, I wouldn't go do that for $8.50 if I could go to McDonald's and make almost double that. Do we need to look at?
Does our McDonald's pay double?
Well, probably not that much, but you know what I mean.
You get $16 at Kentucky Fried Chicken at Lebanon, I pass that sign all the time.
You know what I mean?
I've heard it's 12 or 13 here in town, but I mean, Pig and Foodland, those kids, those stockers and cashiers are making minimum wage. Last year, I don't know what they're making this year, because last year we got a few from there, because of that, so.
I just don't know what you did.
We start talking about pay increases, I mean, I know these are part-time jobs, so you can't compare apples to apples. We're talking about a full-time, 10-year employee. So we could, maybe get a little bit more out of it. We upped it one time, we were paying minimum wage, and we raised it up $1 across the board, and I think we had a pretty good year or two there, But we had some good managers too, we had adult managers. And, we're not gonna have any kid managers or assistant managers, we may have some younger assistant managers. These 15, 16-year-old trying to run stuff, it ain't gonna happen. So, I said my first cuss word when we started running that boat, I mean, it's been something every year.
They're not gonna, the hoodlums are not gonna respect the kid.
No,
Listen to them.
well, they're bullies, and I mean, they're bullying their peers, and kids their exact same age. They're one of the same ones that get bullied by in school, so they're intimidated, they might not wanna work like that. I've got a new guy in the park now, I probably should have him come in tonight, so y'all can meet. He don't take no crap.
is it during the night or day or?
He works days.
We across to get a good man.
But then you got employees working for you, you're probably making that now, right?
Oh, no.
That's full time, that's what I'm saying.
I
That's what
got
you do.
full-time, been
You
there
gotta realize
3
that this
years,
person is
making
also
a lot.
managing an operation.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we
So
need
it's not-
that money.
It's not just working for, they're managing an operation. So there's a difference there in that case. Just working doesn't mean I gotta plan things, deal with other kids, deal with other
Scheduling and all that.
scheduling and all those
Well,
pieces.
it's no doubt we need it, I mean, it's probably to get one like that, we are going to.
Yeah, my park guy can manage it, but he can't be there all the time. I mean, I ain't gonna, he's gonna be there a lot.
So you got a guy that you think can manage it during the pool.
Well, last year he pulled the bullets out of their ears. I mean, he's not gonna put up with this mess. We're gonna need him in there this year, for sure. So,
Well, last year sounded like we needed a plan. Here's your warning, here's your suspension, here's your, I'm sorry, you're out. You're not coming back. We needed a plan for how we were going to handle those misbehaviors. We had parents come in and talk to us about language and how much they did not like the language that was going on at school. So we just need a process of how we're gonna deal
the
with
foul
those.
language should just be dismissed, either for the week or for the month. I wouldn't care if we did it for the year, but after one warning, I don't think we're gonna write them up and hand them a piece of paper and make them sign it and all this mess. But if we've got their name in there on the list, and they've been talked to about cussing around, especially the kids and, the mothers and their young children, they're gone for the year. Just
That's why you're
come out
clear
here.
with them, and you straight up, hey, look, we're writing you up for this, next time, here it is. Well, we've gotta have a procedure that's clear with those kids and with those individuals, and it'll clean up when you take care of those things. This is not
Post a
gonna
sign.
tolerate it.
Well, the procedures are wrote on the wall
Yeah.
when you walk in, so I mean, it's there. So that won't be an issue.
You're speaking about the profanity and stuff. I've actually talked to our board. I'm having signs made to put up at each field in front of each stand. Profanity is immediate removal from the park, no questions asked. Number one, it's a family atmosphere. Number two, you've got other people's children out there that you're disrespecting, not only the kid, but the parents. They're trying to teach them better,
No room for
and
it.
that's not gonna happen. I mean, we had a travel ball tournament out there this past summer, and I had a lady from Murfreesboro get belligerent with me. And I told her, I said, don't ever come back to this park. Don't ever. I mean, I stopped the ball game mid-game. and told everybody, I said, anybody else uses foul language, you're out. I'll stop the game and remove both teams. I don't care. We're not gonna do it like that. So, I mean, zero tolerance is zero tolerance when it comes to profanity, especially around our youth. They've got enough problems in school that they're having to deal with, and they don't need to go somewhere where they're trying to have fun and be subject to the same stuff.
We lost a lot of business last year because of that chosen few, dirty dozen.
Well, as long as we're clear, here's our rules, here's our procedures, and we take care of it from there. So, you want it, give them an opportunity, here's what it is, want it to be the sign, like you said. You want them, you said this is what's gonna happen, you stick to what's gonna happen.
The sign is your warning.
So you gonna send stuff, go ahead and start
100%.
sending stuff out about lock cars?
Yeah, we're on.
You already on all that?
Yeah, we're on. So when's that gonna be out?
It'll be out next week. Tracy's been sick, she's been in the hospital, I mean, I said, those guys I named a while ago, that's all that's been here since the first of the year. Tracy's been in and out, her dad's been sick. We had bad health scare, so it's been short, super short.
That's good. We're gonna get something to them, let them start talking, Dr. Coon, they want to see them over here, start talking.
We usually just carry flyers to the door and ask them to put them on the boards, and of course, Facebook, a lot of the guards that were there last year, they'll start posting and sharing. It gets out pretty
So you
soon.
think some of the guards that was there last year, that finished the season, will be back this year too?
A lot of them are still certified, I feel like they'll come back.
And we reached out to them.
Some of them.
They'll all be reached out to next week.
Well, it's, somebody that we've already paid for, it'd be nice to.
Retain as many as we can,
We
even
won't-
if
we won't
they
give you
get a
a phone
little
call,
pay
we'd like
bump,
to
come
back.
back.
Here's your phone call, we'd like to know what you want to come back.
Y'all wanna offer that $100 bonus again this year, or?
Or give them a pay bump a little bit, on the hour for coming back, because we're gonna save a ton on not training them.
The $100 bonus was if you complete the
Years.
The training
certification
and the
with us
year.
and stay with us for a year, we'll give an extra 100 again. That's
Is it out of question to give the veterans that come back a pay bump for coming back, because we don't have to pay for them to get recertified? And they are well trained at this point, they got a year under their belt.
What did certification cost us?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they'd rather have $100 at the end or so much on the hour like you're talking about.
$100 and then take the rest of it and add it up to their salary.
Well, if you're gonna give them all 100 for completing the year, these pay bumps just for the seniority of it being there,
That's a good idea, though.
I
I mean, that's a good incentive. People like to work with her, appreciate it.
I'd like for us to, when we come back next time here, if those kids would be willing to work with us again, then hey, we're gonna try to help you out, what do you need for us to help you out?
I'll have Tracy reach out to them first week.
Thank you.
Especially if we're spending $250.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Did my email regarding the camera system help?
yeah, we'll.
Okay, thank you.
Or is anybody else, we need to discuss anything else on the food right now?
So we need to get for that for coming up in the future.
We'll have to have a meeting in February, so we'll have every month, I guess, that we.
Yippee-ki-yay.
But it seems like they shorthanded have already been right on pretty good, I mean.
We are, we get that, we're there.
See, anything else, anybody we need to discuss about the food? Maybe next month we'll get more into nuts and bolts of it.
All right, while we're in the park, we'll move over to the camera. Y'all got this quote, and I sent it out to Commissioner King, back in November. He had time to go over it. I've, actually Googled all these part numbers and looked up the prices, and everything he's on, maybe $100 higher on a couple of things, but most of it, he's on par for what I'm finding on the internet. These licenses, he says we're gonna need, he told me that some of the viewer, modes that we have now are gonna fall away, or are already gone. They fell away at 1st of January. So, way of us looking at them online, different, ways of looking at them online through certain, communications that fell apart. There's no way we can view them anymore without these licenses. Is that right?
100%, the licenses are an enterprise license. I don't care what brand you're using and whose software you're using. These enterprise-based licenses, they are for a specific amount of time. And then when they roll off, I mean, that MAC address on that camera is it's not authorized, so you're not gonna get back into it. And the reason being is that, yeah, it seems like it's a pain in the rear to keep paying for these accrued license fees, but to maintain the software, the database and stuff like that, they have to do that to be able to keep the stuff going with the firmware pushes and stuff. It just costs a fortune to do it. So it's not going away. I mean, you're gonna have to pay recurring.
We've got the money in the budget to do this now. I think Amy would have to look a little bit of money. But two of these cameras that he was talking about are 360-degree cameras that'll be on the park and another area around the ball fields. He talked about putting one on one of the new light poles, and Tri-County was good with it. But it's a 360-degree camera. It don't pick anything up but a human body or a car. And when it does, it'll send a text, a picture, and everything directly to whoever's phone it needs to be sent to. So we'll know right then whether or not it's justifiable to send somebody or go over and investigate it ourselves. I've seen his video of what he has at his office. It's immediate playback, fast forward, rewind. It's not like this lag time, 30-minute waiting. Yeah, I mean, it's instant. Everything he has is instant on our internet at the park. And that's the slowest internet in Hartsville. So I was real impressed with it. We could get quotes, but you know, we've kind of been kicking Cecil away. You know, he offered to do that free thing, and that fell on deaf ears. We didn't get to do that. So he's offered me a little bit of a deal on this. He's cut I'll have to talk to him again, but he has cut the hourly rate as far as doing the install and stuff like that from 115 to 95. It's not a huge amount, but it's going to help, you know. It's just something I want to lay on y'all's mind and see what you think about it. We need to do something. My cameras they're not all failing, but I've got a few that mostly just have bad connectors. We can fix a lot of them. But there's 2 or 3 over there that need to be replaced. I've got a list. It's on an email somewhere.
I may have to be aware that state laws change. Books and stuff, until straight up. So we won't be in trouble if you do this. That's not me, that's the state.
I mean, it's no doubt we need a better camera system, and I mean, I'm doing all this, redoing the Trey Park and the lot. I mean, we need a good camera system.
So I'll tell you, I mean, I work at an engineering firm that does this stuff that's what I do for a living. And function for function, these things are no different. I look at this with each one of these cameras with 360, the LPRs and stuff like that, all of them do the same thing, function for function. You can spend $2,000 or $2,981 on this particular this camera right here. You can spend it on that one, or you can turn around and spend $7,500 on a camera that does the same thing but it has Motorola on it. And I'm telling you, there's not a difference in them. Same thing with the licensing. I mean, I was looking as far as what these things are capable of doing and what the software monitoring package is as far as facial recognition. These things they're right on par with everything that's out there. The price is absolutely very palatable. I told him for what they are, 100%. I could get you the same system, but it would be a Vigilon. It would probably cost you somewhere around $75,000. Your annual subscription fee through Vigilon would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10,000.
How many cameras is this total?
It's some repair on ours. I don't remember exactly how many cameras it is.
It says 24 cameras currently wired, so we're gonna have all those, it says right now only 14 are operational. So are we gonna have back to the 24, or we?
I've got some that are damaged, gone, repaired, but a lot of them just need new connectors and waterproofing on the bottom, so where they connect. I've always done it all. I mean, I ran the wires, I installed the cameras, I set up the system, I did it for the pool, the park, the convenience center, the library. I've done all of them in town that's county buildings other than the sheriff's department. I'm just getting tired. I can't do it all, man. I mean, plus I need something dependable. Let's bring this new playground equipment and stuff in there.
Yeah.
These need to be in place before they deliver it. The dirty dozen will have us tore up before we ever get it installed.
If we make a motion to approve this, you think we could get started, or he could get on pretty quick, or?
Yeah, I called him to come up and do an inspection, give me a quote. He was here the next day and they fixed a couple of little items that I had up there. So I don't think it would be very long at all. He called me last week, wanted to know where we were on. He called me Friday. And I told him I didn't know until I, brought it before you guys.
But you got enough money, we just got enough money in the budget there, you won't have to do no budget amendments.
I'll go across all the check,
And so if we approve this, how many cameras will we have functioning to cover the
I
park?
couldn't tell you that. I'd have to go back and say something, see what it says.
Now, if we have a camera set up, I mean, or just come into your phone or whoever it contacts, if something happens, I mean, will that be you or?
It'll be the phone, it's gonna be Joe. Joe's gonna be watching it. Joe wants to fit his phone.
Who is Joe? Was that the one that working at the park right there? Who is Joe?
Slater.
Okay.
He's worked for me before.
Yeah.
He went to work for Ray, worked for Ray for a couple of years, and then he went to, the prison for a little while. He's been skipping around, but he called him, wanted to come back. I took him back. I mean, he's hard work.
For it, how many cameras do we have operating for what we're paying?
There's not many cameras in this quote at
It's
all.
repairing the others and adding these two in addition.
Okay.
These are very expensive cameras.
Okay,
Very expensive cameras. And then the licenses are expensive.
okay, so most of the cost of this is fixing what we have, getting the licenses, and then adding,
Supplementing with
and
this.
then adding some new.
Most of it is this, very little of it is repairing. I can almost do the repairing myself, that wouldn't be an issue. Most of it is just this new stuff.
So this, if we do this, I mean, the whole park is
What
under,
he told me,
is under camera.
as long as
I
we
meant
get
to
on that
ask.
light pole track, over on track out.
Is there any kind of an LPR? I was looking at the licensing and it didn't exactly spell that out, but license plate recognition? Okay, that's another these cameras are capable of it, but that's another licensing thing. But
We've talked about.
when it captures a license plate, there's no denying.
We've talked about putting one up there on the pool for years.
It's a great idea. You use it one time and it will pay for itself.
Yeah. Oh, that, we've talked about license plate, started putting cameras in.
It's a software package, those LPRs are, they're game changers.
Yeah.
No, that takes away plausible deniability.
Exactly. You see a yellow shirt getting into a gold Camaro and you get the license plate, it goes back to the scripts all the time.
100%.
It's that easy.
We can assist them. You pull into a school parking lot, your license plate's ran against the state and federal database, you step out of the car, immediately the appearance search knows if you've got a weapon on you, you take a couple more steps, the facial recognition grabs it, runs you against the state and federal database and compares you to the registration of the car. You get to the front door of the building, you push the airtag button to get buzzed in, it's taking your temperature, and it's all done through AI. And little ladies at the front desk have no clue what all this just happened. But you know what, if you're not supposed to be there, there'll be a cop there tapping you on the shoulder within a matter of minutes. It's something else.
Red Bull has two of these put in, and I've called a couple of times, but I can't get in touch with who I need to talk to. Lisa says they're thrilled about it, they really like it. I probably won't give up trying, I'll call them again and see what we can find out.
So what kind of licensing and recurring costs are inside this piece?
I like it.
It looks like there's 5 licenses for $338. I don't know if that's an annual. I would imagine there's 8 licenses, total of 8 total.
He told me one time it's a one-time fee, I'll double check that, but he told me one time we had.
A lot of them are, and then there's add-ons.
It says one-time license fee.
Okay, but there are add-ons you can get to these licenses that unlocks other functions in those cameras, such as facial rec appearance search, things of that nature.
We're gonna protect this new equipment, keep our buildings in good shape, we're gonna have to do something. We can get prices from everywhere.
Well, the thing is that if you got a frivolous lawsuit that gets brought up, and you've got the footage, and you can walk into the hearing before it goes to court, and you can hit a space bar on the computer and play back exactly what happens, and it shows that it didn't happen the way that this person's making the accusation, and all you gotta say is, you ask their attorney, how would you like to proceed now? And they usually say, we'll drop it. over and over and over.
Well, the 5 kids that we got in trouble now, one of them went back over and tore a lock off the bathroom door, and I've got it on video. Now his dad wants to see the video, they don't think it's him, it's him, it's plain as day. I mean, he looks at the camera when he does it.
I'm certainly for it. I just wish I really truly understood if we have any more recurring costs and how many cameras we're talking about. But we're gonna be talking about the full park is under surveillance.
As far as I know, there's no recurring cost. All that's it.
Even if it is, that's negligible compared to what it is to other vendors, trust me. It's negligible. If it costs us $300 a year to keep those cameras active, with current database, with current software, because they push software updates constantly.
It's been 10 years now, they took the baseball bat and busted that slab $7,700. Made no count.
But you looked over this and you deal with this and you think this is a real reason.
It's a great deal. You go anywhere else in this, you're gonna spend a minimum of double this, closer to 60 or 70. To have the number of cameras online that he's gonna have online there.
Cecil's been trying to help us for years, and I feel like he's given us a
I
pretty
think
good deal.
it's very trustworthy.
And I would also ask you, what it would look like to add in the future the possibility of LPR for license plates.
It was an option, I asked him about it, but I don't remember what it said.
I mean, we can start out with this and we can get that eventually or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know.
I can tell you in my business, I've got 9 cameras and I don't have facial recognition or anything. And I paid $8,000 to have them installed for 9 cameras and a MVR. It's constantly recording 24 hours a day.
Now, is this also cloud-based as well?
So this is,
See, so this NVR is backed up cloud-based as well.
yeah, that's.
So the NVR goes down, it's still recording in cloud.
Do we need to make a motion on this tonight or we can go ahead and try to start, give him an answer or wait?
If you want it, I'm gonna get it. I mean, I was gonna pull the trigger, I just wanted y'all to see what was going on there, and what we're fixing to do.
Motion to give Cliff our blessing.
Any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Alright,
All opposed. All righty, what else we got, Cliff?
landfill, January 5th, we had a meeting with TDEC. They actually sent 6 of their guys up here. And 2 were water, 4 were solid waste, 1 was, included, one of them was a supervisor. He's been in there for a few years, he knows what's going on. He actually worked for a major solid waste company before he went over to TDEC, so he's got quite a bit of common sense and he knows what's going on in the landfill. He's probably the most reasonable of them all. The water guys are kind of shady, in my opinion. They're talking about, this that you're reading now is something that we're gonna have to do, just to get clarification on what's going on in the landfills now. They're wanting us to start treating and actually catching the water and hauling it back to the water treatment plant without even sampling it. You know, that was something that had been brought up a couple of times. We keep saying, why can't we sample it and see what it is? We finally got an agreement to do that. This is what this is, with the total cost being $8,000 for this. And it will have to be sampled in the future, but John and Trey did tell me that this is something that we can do. We can call the lab, they'll send us a cooler full of sampling containers, we'll pull them ourselves and deliver them to the lab or have them shipped back either way. I think the lab's in Mount Juliet, so it wouldn't be an issue, just drive them down there and drop them off to ensure safety.
How frequently do we need to have them sampled?
We hadn't sampled in 3 or 4 years now. COVID kind of, kept the inspectors out, kept the engineers and from the water sampling departments, Triad, Water Services, and places like that from actually coming in and asking us if we wanted it done. It's kind of fell through the cracks over the last few years, but it's actually coming back up now. So, we're gonna have to pay this. We've got money in the budget for it. It's not a huge deal, but it's coming. I don't think we'll ever have to filter try to truck the water out. They talked about where the outbreak is, actually putting a limestone gravel crusher run there. with some topsoil and cattails on top of that. And some of us have been out there and looked, where it runs directly into the creek. Water guys actually said that we could actually extend it down gradient and then let it go into the stream, so we can make as big a filter system as we need. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to get away with that at that landfill. There's still a possibility at the Dyes landfill, or the Green property, if it tests bad, we could have to start hauling it back into town. So that'll be a tank of some kind and several trips to the water treatment plant. When I started doing this, doing the landfill inspections weekly, we had orange leachate water with chunks of stuff, material running out of the tank. Now it's clear water with no foam on a heavy rain day. It's a stream no bigger than a pencil. And it's good, clear water. I don't think we're gonna have any issues. I think it's gonna test good. But one of the reasons we're really gonna have to do a lot of stringent testing in this right here is the previous test. They thought they had a benchmark sampling area, and it was actually a spring that was running directly out from under a hidden spot of the landfill. So they were testing leachate water to leachate water and getting good results. So we don't know what we're gonna get until we find a good fresh spring out there in those hills and catch the leachate prepare. Once we start doing that, then we'll have a better idea of what's going on.
How often will they be with the test?
Depending on what's in it. If it's bad, we'll have to test
Often, if they don't find
Quarterly.
anything in it, then they,
quarterly or biannual. If it's not that bad, we may not have to test it again.
This is on the property that we resurfaced.
And another little catch to that is the company that came up and did all that brought their equipment up from Alabama, and they graciously delivered about $500,000 fire ants with it. So we got fire ants all over that. I bought some poison the other day. Lowe's and Home Depot started carrying it in my bag. They kept it up high. You have to ask for it. I got 3 bags the other day, so we'll go our mail. Just bring it.
What do you need from us on this, anything?
Just let you know what's going on. This is other work.
Anything, can you give us an update from Keely and Horn about our playground equipment?
Talked to them last week, and actually talked to them twice in the last month. What was the co-op that they used to buy all this stuff from? For some reason, state stopped that, and went to the vendor directly, but it's in the process to start bidding for the playground equipment. That's moving at the speed of government, but it's going forward.
I would just like to see some kind of action, something.
It seems like it takes forever and it all happens,
It's all at
Everybody
once.
shows up at the same day.
And that's what she said. She said,
Sure.
once we get past the next hurdle, she said, it'll just happen.
What was the time, was there a time this had to be supposed to be done by?
That's what I mean.
So we have 2 years.
Okay, only good. So we're not too far.
Got halfway there.
Oh, yeah.
we're wearing it.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, are we?
I think that when we start seeing some kind of movement,
They did talk about maybe, putting a different boundary on it, but taking those boards and got people's name on them, and having a spring that somewhere really. Using that as an enclosure, so. Bring it back up here, kind of doing their presentation on the project. Which talked to Mark Williams today, I'm sure all the paperwork's filled out for that project to go forward. We've been warned from PDOT that several projects. Certainly like to know how the turn things going on. I don't say it could be March, early March before they get the lights up. We turn the red lights, blue lights, red lights.
We'll get something.
It's got the
The
speed
sign
bump.
does look good, and the way they sighted it and everything, when they get it done, it looks good, but
I hadn't talked to Scott, he's the one, S&W Electric's the one that got that bid. He's supposed to be working on a quote for this one up here as far as, battery backup, which that one there is 84 is when those were put in. The actual computer and stuff in there is that old. We're wanting to get new LEDs, but some of them are LEDs, and I talked to Scott about moving these are all LEDs. We had a bad accident here 5-6 years ago, and it actually destroyed all the ones we had, so they put the LEDs up here, insurance paid for them. I'll get those moved up here, and, that left turn to go up Andrews, we're gonna have that turn light put there. It'll be brief, but it's all here, so if they'll allow us to take that up there and set it up, then it won't be that big a deal. We'll have, probably 5 or 6 LEDs from up here, taken down and put in storage of bulbs or anywhere from $100 to $185 piece. They've only put 2 in since they did this 4 or 5 years ago, so they last quite a while.
There's never been the programming on the tile on the last part of it, you got how many times?
Wow,
That's part of the finished.
it's a
product.
long time, I mean, the ground, right now, the loops are cut out of the ground, so it has no idea where traffic is. It's just set on a certain amount of time, right, maybe a 2-minute timer, or 90-second timer.
Yeah,
or something.
that seems like it needs to stay more.
Yeah.
And it can't right now because there's no way, there's nothing in the ground telling where traffic is.
Okay, I was wondering.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in motion, that'll be fixed, when the rest of the stuff's done, everything has to be paved, and then they'll cut, put them in.
on another issue, Kim and Horn had the state had a question on whether or not the skate park was on the radio property or not, but Mr. Carlin came out and resurveyed that in the last couple of weeks to make sure it was in the right place. They cannot figure out how Elmer Ford got this walking trail built on core property, and they can't find any permits or where it's approved, and they just got it done.
It was a permit, huh?
So they hadn't found it yet.
I
but
can't imagine it.
They were concerned about the walking trail, because they wanna make sure everything's, but they never could figure out how that was worked out with the Corps, but she just asked the Corps, I guess they gave her the permission to do it, she did, so. That's 2 concerns they have, but I think they've worked through them both.
I've had verbal on that recently, because I talked to them over the phone, and they pulled it up on satellite imagery. Got an idea, and then they came up and looked at it a few days later and called me and said that everything's fine, so I don't have an answer.
So you know things are probably moving forward because there's clearance on a couple of these things. Another thing, I talked to, this is side item, but I'll share with you later. The building that's attached to the bridge downtown,
County take pins, please,
the county turned over to the state.
Yeah.
They told me they have to do all these environmental studies.
to abate it.
They called me today to tell me that the state has talked to environmental and it's moving forward now, which is a good thing. She said at least they have to do that because they're going to put a new pylon in to secure the safety of the bridge when they tear it down. But that was a sign thing moving forward when they call you to tell you so it's a state government. But if you think you're moving forward,
Any other business we need to bring up?
Last I heard, the new front loader truck was on track, just to be here in March, so hopefully it'll be here. Called him Friday, and he said he'd check and call me back, and I hadn't heard from him yet. Week before that, he said he would.
I probably need to contact Kenny on Sunday, keep that information.
I don't remember the guy's name. I do remember calling and asking him what I was talking about. I explained it to him. He found it. There's actually landmarks out there. What's core property and what's county.
They said fine.
That's why I said there's signs on the trees, most of this core signage
It runs through the middle of that creek, yard, middle of that soccer
on
field.
that part there.
Yeah.
In that back corner there.
One thing I want to ask is, since it's on county property, I guess we're the successor to county, to what was county buildings committee, but the bell from the courthouse.
We're working on it.
Okay.
What what happened is I'm sure you remember the big sugar maples that were in the courtyard. When they took those out, they didn't bother the roots have rotted and everything's fell away. So USS came up and, just looking, we went ahead and braced it up. They offered to send a crew up to brace it. We went ahead and braced it up. It's actually teetering. We can push it back up level, but I don't wanna keep messing with it, so we let it be. He brought a 10-foot probe in and he could stick it, just let it go and it would go from outside every time. I mean, there's nothing under it. So as far as just trying to grab it and move it or something like that, unless you tell me to, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know how old it is. I don't know what it's gonna take to tear it up or rebuild.
That bell is the one that came from the Masonic Institute on the hill up there. And when it was burned down with the Civil War, they salvaged the bell, and that's where it ended up at. So it's way pre-Civil War Institute is up on the hill,
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch it.
where the Academy of Art.
So they're gonna come up and
They got five, he said it's, at first he said 4 piers, but he said he'd like to get 5 under it just to ensure it, it's sturdy. But yeah, they're gonna come up, stand it up, and set 5 piers under it, go down to the head. Problem. Just to level it back up. It's supposed to be here. Probably about another 3 or 4 weeks. They leaned over, we called him, and he came up the following week. I've heard, Mr. Beasley kind of spurred that crew along, he's friend, one down there, one over, so, but maybe it was speeded up, I had called us, I'll call him. Speed it up.
I've been asked about that, so I just wanted to.
Yeah.
And I figured this would probably be the best, that's what they did. Bring that up, so that's fine.
We talked about it, moving it, taking it back over, trying to move it, but I'm just not going. If it breaks or anything, it's irreparable, it's irreplaceable, so I'm just not going.
I've got nothing else. I can get a set of money.
Yeah, I got a question. I keep getting asked by other commissioners if we had, since we're Public Works, kick the can this direction. When will the courthouse be done? I'm like, yeah, I can ask, just like you can.
It's supposed to have been done in 30 days, that was the deal. Turnkey proposal would be done in 30 days.
I remember that.
Now they're saying March to earliest, fresh air, appliance is supposed to be, the handler that moves the fresh air in and out of the building is back ordered, so they're waiting on it. We've had some electricians down there all week doing a bunch of stuff without a permit. So, I don't know how.
Sound like that.
Sounds like, all you got is love.
I bet.
So he's been on today, probably going all back out, see. But we asked them when they got here if they pulled a permit, and they said no, and I said, do you need a permit? And they said, no, we don't need a permit. They put in the cowboys. You got to have a permit.
So the short answer is probably April.
Tell them March, that's what they told me.
Yeah, this is all big place.
Lord have mercy.
Has anybody
Every
been
time
in? Been in it?
I was in there the day of the Christmas parade, and it looked like a bomb.
They left Thanksgiving, they haven't been back, so still,
Oh, they haven't been back.
they ain't been back.
I mean, it looks like the place is ready to be condemned. It's that bad.
How much have we paid them before?
but he said they was repairing the damage.
Yeah, they had to drop the hallway ceiling down. They're gonna pay for that. We're gonna put in LED lights, because we've got them in stock, so we'll just go ahead and put, instead of putting those old balance back up, we'll put LEDs in. The quilt has been moved because they wanted to run the tile up to the quilt about a foot from it and then turn it up and go back up and over the quilt.
No.
It'd be easier for us to lower it, so we took it out, told them we'd lower it, we put it where it needed to be when they got done.
Is that all for the fresh air? So we're not running ductwork.
I don't think, yeah.
I thought all the units were.
Those are, but there's a fresh air unit.
So it is for the fresh areas.
Some of it is. It's a different unit altogether. It sits completely independent on its own on the other side of the building.
I got another question. Up in that area that's gonna be where the fresh air is at, is there any low voltage or anything lines up there that's existing?
I don't know.
Because those things have to be plugged. If they're not, if they're in any kind of an airway, they have to be plugged in. Not that it means it won't go away, so it's telling you.
I might wanna go upstairs and look at the vents coming through the ceiling, if you don't like that, we're gonna need to say something about it pretty soon.
There's not gonna be damage to the video systems there.
No,
Okay, we shut it
No.
down, wrapped
Okay.
the bag around it, taped it up,
Okay.
and we've got heat in there.
I mean, they messed everything else up, so I just figured it wasn't worth it.
no, there's 3 PTZs in there and then all those, stations.
All the cameras will have to be cleaned, everything will have to be thorough clean. That's not the entire building. That's supposed to be on them.
So when will they be back? You said they hadn't been back.
I don't know.
I will tell you this much, those base stations are power over Ethernet, so you can unplug those base stations and set them somewhere clean in a protected room. You hook them back up, they figure out where they are.
What do we have to hold them to?
That's what
So
I'm saying.
accountability.
What is our accountability?
I realize they're in a contract, but if we've already paid a majority of the contract, they may be.
I don't think they will, I mean, it's trained. I don't think that's a difference.
They're dealing with the same issues that everybody else is, he's dealing with, and, you know, you can't get
Guys and equipment.
guys in supply chain. Manpower supply chain.
I'll tell you what caliber of guys they got, alright? 3 days in a row, they was on the 2nd story roof, running and slacking. All they did, all they could video on each other sliding around.
So it's been subcontracted.
Oh, yeah. Way out there.
I had a bunch of lead guys on a project with those lead guys. They'd come in the morning, they'd sit down at a folding table, and they'd sit there and play cards all day. Didn't hit a lick of the snake for us all summer long over in Sumner County at that big school.
The lead guy on that,
Nothing.
he's in his 20s. He's on his phone all day, like, if he's like. That's what we're working with, like.
I think it'd be nice to know where we are in the contract, in price wise though. That's something we can go and we.
I'm sure it was a third down or something like that. Somewhere, there was a draw at some point, there'll be a completion, check.
There is, I've got all that in my office. But, and Amy just checked before I came in here, it says on the front of the proposal, this is a turnkey operation. So we're supposed to be able to walk in it like we walked out of it.
When was the election commission, what is their projection?
They're wanting to be there now.
That's what I
I
thought.
mean, we're way behind.
They were gonna move it.
Yeah, okay, I thought January, yeah.
The plan was for them
And the
to,
extension service too, they're.
Yeah.
to take that other area, because they've got a third agent.
Question is there somebody further up the ladder at train that needs to know about this stuff? Because
I talked to Matt, that's my liaison, that's who I deal with, he's with Train, insured, he tell me everything's on track.
you just don't wanna push it too far with the chain again, because then when it comes out, you know,
Probably not.
no, it's not.
No, that's for sure.
Ray Charles can see that.
Already saw.
Yeah, we've discussed a lot here, man.
Sounds like this committee
Huh?
holds a whole lot.
It does. Has anybody else got anything? Other other business? If not, we move to public comment. Y'all like to say more?
I'll let you know.
Please.
Anything we talked about tonight, I've had my finger in it. I'm busy, I'm covered up. You know, if something kind of falls through the cracks, I'm sorry. We'll circle back around, but my plate is full. So I'm doing all I can do with what little bit I've got.
We get that, yeah.
I'm working on it.
I mean, the biggest reason why we come here, we've got a season about to start. We got public asking questions
Same
for us
thing.
and seeing light poles laying on the ground and things like that. So,
Kick the can down the road until somebody's gotta pick it up.
Man, we've had a big step up. We've been talking about putting them new light poles and lights up there for 4 or 5 years. We finally got it.
Yeah, and just hadn't seen that.
And then all of a sudden it happens all at once.
Yeah, come in there one time and then another month went away with nothing. That's what made us.
Well,
concerned.
unfortunately, they hit a very big, they had no plans that it was gonna be that deep a hole. Tri-County tried to dig those holes, they hit a snag,
Yeah.
whoa, we can't dig the hole that's required for this piece, so they had to go back and find, so there was,
Groves.
there was some slows there because of those pieces. And, you know, that's, like you say, it's not easy to tell somebody, hey, this is what happened, but things take.
You said that the line that they hit was to the scoreboard. Is that all that operated?
There was 2 sets of wires in there, about that big around multi-coated, and several different
A lot of
wires.
conductors in.
I'd say 30 wires in that, right? 2 of them.
Are you sure they weren't old telephone?
No telephone runs that way. AT&T runs from the pole, right up at Marlene Street, all the way down to.
That's just a coax cable. All it is a coax cable runs there.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it wouldn't be a multi-core backbone cable for that. It's just,
I promise you, we ran,
I don't know what they are.
it's a coax cable.
It didn't look like phone pack. I dug up the phone. I didn't
60s or
dug up
70s,
phone
it could be
pack.
old 60s or 70 phone trunk line for something.
The reason I asked, I mean, if we could tap in and just power up the scoreboards, you can use the existing electrical lines for the lights and just,
No.
if it did.
He said they hit those multiple times.
Okay.
That's old wiring. If they're willing to do what we're talking about doing right now, we can do it.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if you don't get it done.
But those are ran remotely or wirelessly. There is no signal line out to them, correct?
And what's currently in them is direct buried wire that's currently running all those lights over there. It's been a long time.
Even Tri-County.
Even if it takes us some time,
Yeah.
let's get there.
Outdated.
Maybe we could have an early work day, get a huge crew down there to help, and we get everything done. He ain't got enough manpower to get stuff done.
Hey, I tell you what, we'll schedule it, you be the first one signed up.
Hey, I'm off that Saturday, I'll be there.
I
I'll
will
have to work
say
most
that,
of Saturday, but if I'm off, I'll be there.
the bathrooms on the creek bank, it's got a deteriorating water line. That's why we've got to run a new line from the meter across. We'll have to break that parking lot down there. But Bill's talked about repaving it, so maybe we can get it repaved, you know, if nothing else, we'll pave the crack when he starts paving it again. We gotta run a new water line down there. That's why it's always closed. You know, we've always got a water leak under that road. It runs under the road twice, but between the meter up there and the bathroom. So we'll get that fixed while we're trenching.
One thing I did want to ask you about was the sealant inside the concession stand. Would it be a problem for us to repair that? Because we had talked about going in and fixing it where it's fallen and then putting galvanum tin on the ceiling. One, it brightens it up from the light, and also it's a lot easier to keep clean. It don't look as nasty as a white ceiling. Something just to dress it up a little bit. Of course, right now, tin is through the roof like everything else.
That old style is high. That and that 5-hoop crimp, you know, the old real sharp rib stuff is hard to find, and it's very expensive.
I'd be interested to see if that multi-core backbone line is probably.
It's not camera wires.
Oh, shit.
That's literally what I'm sitting here thinking.
Yeah, I was gonna say the multi-core backbone line, low voltage, that could be camera. That could, I mean, depending on what it looks like, I mean, I'd like to see it, but that wire could have been there from the 60s or 70s.
There may be some of it laying on the ground or wherever they pulled it out. They pulled it in the section out. So it's still laying.
We got no non-working cameras in that area on that side of the vids or anything.
I ran all that, I know where all that's at.
Understood.
You gotta get in touch with Cecil and try to get.
Yeah, I told him I'd call him Friday, today, I told him I'd call him. He called me Monday or Tuesday.
Guys, that's all I've got. I was looking at the calendar for February. What's a good date for y'all on February? I'm looking at maybe February 16th or 23rd on a Thursday.
If we're gonna talk about pool, we need to talk earlier.
16th be earlier, like a 9, 16th, I mean.
probably earlier, but I'm with him on that one.
Is
What
that
were you talking
February,
earlier?
February 9th?
Ninth.
Is February 9th good for everybody at, 6 o'clock?
We can make it okay.
That's what I'm saying, we can move it to 6:30 or 7 if we need that.
I mean, sometimes getting here at 6 is
That's
tough.
what I'm saying, it's tough.
I was in a
for me
meeting in
sometimes.
Rutherford County till 4:45, I had them all but to get here.
What's better for everybody, 6:30, 7?
Six, all right, we didn't wait a few minutes.
Yeah, 6, I'm fine with me.
All right, let's go ahead and set our next, meeting for Public Works, February the 9th at 6 P.M. I guess it's still here.
Yeah, that would be in here.
No, when she puts the calendar out, I'd say so. So I'm ready to go ahead.
Guys, that's all I've got, is there anything else we need to discuss? If not, I'll entertain
Motion
a
to
motion.
adjourn.
I got a motion to adjourn, have a second.
Second.
Thank you, appreciate y'all showing up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.